of Pokemon have received buffs over the years. Some deserved, some not so deserved. You can make your own judgment on that. But sometimes buffs don't really help out a Pokemon all that much. I saw Full Swipe Gaming made a video called Buffs That Didn't Help These Pokemon, and it made me think of all of the really weak little guys that did get a little bit stronger, but my god, they're still really weak little guys. And how, oh my god, I wish they would give Maractus something. Please, Game Freak, you have to. He's such a nice little guy. He just smiles and dances. Like, what more do you even want? Give him like a Mega Evolution or double Mega Evolution. It's two of them, an X and Y version maybe.
Have been buffed en route to gaining viability, but far more have been passed over and left to linger uselessly. However,
I mean, we can all agree that Mewtwo did need a little bit of help. It was quite lackluster in its statistical layouts.
just because Pokemon in the latter category have not found competitive use does not mean that they have been totally ignored by Game Freak.
I do like these videos, and by the way, I do have permission from Full Swipe Gaming to react to these videos. I think they're great because it shines a little bit of light on some of the Pokemon that you never think about. Like, for example, Justin over here.
In fact, there have been all sorts of buffs dished out to pokes you'll rarely see, if ever, in the form of new moves.
Damn, okay. Wait, hold on. That Aqua Jet just slayed that Zangoose, which is not a cat, by the way.
Abilities, even the occasional boost to their base stats, and sometimes their rare type change. However, just because Game Freak gave a buff doesn't mean that the buff, or buffs even, is or are sufficient for a Pokemon to find a significant boost to its viability.
True, but I mean, giving Fairy type to Mr. Mime is... Wait, why did they give Fairy type to Mr. Mime? That actually was quite confusing. What compelled them to give Fairy type to a Mime? Is it because a Mime's in fairy tales? Did I miss that part of Cinderella in Beauty and the Beast? Was there a Mime in the house,
It's
too?
not about the buffs themselves being bad either. They'd be highly appreciated on better Pokemon. The point is more that, good as these buffs might be, they aren't enough for the Pokemon they are given to. Not every...
That's really a shame. And man, they really did try hard with some of the Gen 2 mons. Stantler and Girafarig getting the evolutions they do deserve. But I mean, Weird Ear's not that great. Girafarig, though, for Farigiraf, getting some good use and some VGC now. That's good to see.
buff is on par with, say, Clefable gaining the Fairy type in Generation 6, or Dugtrio's plus 20 boost to its base attack in Generation 7.
Which, my god, it did need that. It was so weak. Dugtrio needs a little bit of something. Doesn't have like -5 HP stats.
Today, we're going to be exploring the Pokemon whose buffs were not enough to help them, and offer some suggestions on what they would need in order to be viable.
What are we starting off with then?
But first, get the buff that definitely helps us here at Fall Swipe, because this video is sponsored by Raycon. We've talked about Raycon on this channel before, and we stand by everything we said last time. I use my Raycons literally every day, from listening to audiobooks while I work or work out, or having hands-free phone calls so I don't have to hold the phone up to my head the whole time.
And I hate doing that because like lifting it up is such an effort that is not my... Because I have to pick it up, and then I have to put it to my ear. Do you know how many calories I burn doing that? Probably none, actually. I don't think it burns any.
If you missed out on it last time, then worry not, because there's never been a better time to get Raycon than right now. The most affordable, high-quality audio earbuds around. They've upgraded their latest model of everyday earbuds even further, which is crazy because the last one already had a ton of features I like. Now the new everyday earbuds have a quick charge function. 10 minutes of charging yields 90 minutes of battery. Now that—
I'm sorry, this math doesn't seem to be mathing right now.
Another feature I
Sorry, that sounded like a Marvel script there. Sorry about that, Jesus
like is the multi-point connectivity that allows you to pair two devices at once. This comes in handy because sometimes I like to watch things on a bigger screen than my phone. Now I don't have to turn my Bluetooth off on either of them to pair the other.
That's actually kind of useful,
very convenient. I am not kidding when I tell you that I would not be able to make these videos or do most tasks without using my everyday earbuds, since I use
I wouldn't be able to make my broccoli and cheese without my everyday earbuds.
Audio media to focus. So if you want the best affordable, high-quality earbuds and also support the channel to help us produce more content, go to buyraycon.com/FSG for 15% off your Raycon purchase and free shipping.
Right there. Go get your free shipping in the description. Links in the description. Go. It's Barbarrel! He gains sword stance. He gains sword stance and Aqua Jet. Wait, hold on. He already had simple though, right? So he gets +4 attack. What is Barbarrel's attack stat though? All right, Barbarrel's attack stat is 85, which I'm gonna be honest, is not that great. It has 71 speed. This is a really interesting stat distribution. You know, you just throw Moody on that and just go crazy. Imagine if you could run two abilities at once and have Simple and Moody at the same time. Now that would be ludicrous.
It's a famously bad Pokemon. It's more well known for the sheer number of HMs it learns, which found it a spot on many an in-game team of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. It just about never see battle, other than
Yeah, it was a meme for a long time that it was just a HM slave, which is quite unfortunate. I mean, friends, HM friend, HM assistants, HM definitely paid more than minimum wage employee that we hire and give benefits to. It's crazy. You don't understand. Like this guy gets maternity leave, paternity leave, maternity leave.
And when it was to be sacrificed so you could revive something else. But it was essential for letting you strength and rock climb and waterfall your way through the game. Its competitive presence has always been utter nihil. Many players think unaware was
Oh, wait, udder Nile? Like udder? Like you're using an udder and Nile as in a river? Like if a barrel would block a river? Is that a joke? Wait, is that a joke or am I just making stuff up? Am I hallucinating?
Introduced in Generation 5, when Quagsire wrote it to OU success, but the ability actually came around in Gen 4. It's just that it was given to Bibarel, who was utterly worthless at using it. Yep, that is Bibarel's legacy.
That's mean.
However, some eyebrows were raised in Generation 7, because Bibarel got both Swords Dance and Aqua Jet. These were the big ones, but they even tossed in Liquidation, so that it hit slightly harder than with Waterfall.
The problem with it is it's just not fast enough to take advantage of this. They can't run Swift Swim and Simple at the same time. You can't go +4 attack and have Swift Swim. You're just not fast enough. You can't run Choice Scarf and set up Sword Dance either unless, I don't know, you trick the Choice Scarf onto it after it uses Sword Dance.
Probably thinking, cool, why should I care? This is still the same Pokemon with the same appalling, pitiful stat spread. What difference are these moves going to make?
Wait a minute, though. One shot and an Aggron, which is also a disappointing Pokemon.
Well,
still cool. My god, I wish Aggron was better. It looks so sick, but Steel Rock is such a bad type.
Bibarel's other excellent ability, it had been too awful to use before. Simple, which doubles any stat changes received. Previously, any gimmicky attempts to use Bibarel, which were done just so you could say you used Bibarel.
What? Okay, one shot on a Primate. Okay, we're +4. I'm underestimating how good +4 is.
Revolved around Curse boosting +2 attack and defense in a turn, or with Bibarel as the receiver of a baton pass chain. While there was little more embarrassing than the idea of losing to a super boosted Bibarel, these were lip service gimmicks that even the most hardcore dumpster divers wouldn't dignify with use in anything halfway serious.
Yeah, even the quick attack at +2 wasn't doing much damage, but hey, I mean, if it was at +4, that would have been a kill. No, it wouldn't. It has sturdy. It wouldn't have been a kill.
However, Swords Dance held promise. Even for Bibarel's unimpressive attack stat, a +4 boost in a single turn was significant. And with
you might even be able to kill a Haunter.
Aqua Jet, this went hand in hand for a great new method of picking off the many Pokemon faster than it. Far better than the previous quick attack. Plus, Bibarel had an interesting offensive stab combination, as Water Normal is great coverage. Fellow physical waters Gyarados and Feraligatr often use Waterfall and Return for the best 2-move coverage against as much as possible. So theoretically, Bibarel could become an SD user with sufficient power and coverage to break through slower, bulkier walls. Its speed wasn't
I am just impressed that he's killing so many mobs here.
And it has Aqua Jet helping it against faster Pokemon. Sure, nobody was expecting OU stardom, but at least something in a lower tier? Nope. Bibarel's stats are so abysmal that even its Mega Boost.
It's so sad. I think if you just gave it like a 20 boost into speed, that would do something. Like if it had 91 speed, it's still not that fast, but it could do something.
Since Swords Dance can't muster any sort of genuine niche for it. While it's not dirt slow, it's still not nearly as fast as it needs to be, or at least not as fast as it needs to be while packing such appalling non-bulk. And even a
it just can't take
Aqua
hits.
Jet isn't enough to burst through the million things that are going to outspeed it. Oh, and this is to say nothing of how difficult it is for it to get a boost in the
Wait, can it kill a Regirock though?
Given how
No. Oh, wow. Oh, that's embarrassing. I don't know if this is a buffed up Regirock or whatever that's going on with this Regirock, or if it's a buffed up barrel or not, but wow, that is abysmal. That is truly embarrassing.
How hilariously non-threatening it is without.
And that was life orb damage too. Oh, heavens to Betsy. What's going on with barrel?
SD, and how threatened it is by everything. The solution to this? Well, the funny solution would be to upgrade Simple to triple boost, meaning Swords Dance would attain a +6 in a single turn. And
oh, yeah, that's insane, though. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, 4 is enough, but 6? That's insane.
See if that changes. However, more realistically, Bibarel just needs better stats. But
yeah, okay. Let's see if we agree. I said if you give him like 20 into speed, he could do a little bit more. I don't know if he needs more. I mean, he could use a little bit more attack. Maybe about 15 more into attack. He's not going to be able to take hits. He's never going to be able to take hits.
It needs them in so many places that it just makes more sense to give it an evolution or a mega evolution. Either way, take the concept of what Bibarel is now and make it actually feasible to use.
An evolution would actually make a lot of sense since it's only a 2-stage mon as well, and people love Bidoof. They made a whole animation about Bidoof that they posted online. They made a little short animation. It was great. Wigglytuff! All right, there's a lot I could say about Wigglytuff. However, I have one very passionate fan that loves Wigglytuff. Really, really loves Wigglytuff. That's in my streams a lot. So maybe shouldn't say too much, but man, Wigglytuff is like Clefable if Clefable was really, really bad.
Clefable and Granbull becoming full fairy type, Azumarill becoming water fairy type, Togekiss becoming fairy flying type, Mawile becoming steel fairy, Whimsicott becoming grass fairy, and Gardevoir and even Mr. Mime becoming psychic fairy in Gen 6.
Damn, that is a lot of changes. And let's not forget about the most important change. You becoming much smarter from having used code Patterrz at GamerSubs to get delicious beverages that are fantastic. There's a ton of different flavors, even emotional damage. One I have right here on deck, actually. You can always still get yourself some Gamer Tea if you want from GamerSubs. They're all fantastic, and trust me, I'm a big tea buff, so worth a go.
Were major changes. Previously used Pokemon gaining updates that let them not just stay with the times, but in many cases, dominate them.
And Azumarill's great now. I mean, Mr. Rhyme and Mr. Rhyme is sick. He's very cool. Regular Mr. Mime, not so good. Ice Mr. Mime, again, a bit creepy, but weird, not that great. It's funny that the Galarian Mr. Mime can use Eviolite, but I don't think the regular Mr. Mime can.
Mr. Mime, the worst of those Pokemon, who eventually fell off, still had its time, as it was excellent in Gen 6 PU. However, there was another Pokemon that had the fairy type bestowed upon it in Gen 6 that never even had the chance to fall off, because it never even got started.
It never fell off because it could never fall on. To be fair, they did have to nerf Wigglytuff considering how strong it is in the Mystery Dungeon universe. You can't be so strong in every single variation of every single multiverse. Obviously, there has to be some weak versions of you. The video game version being the weak version, but the Mystery Dungeon version, ooh, you better watch out.
By receiving one of the best types in the game, Wigglytuff. Yes, the fact that it didn't shed its normal typing held it back, as it meant it lacked the fighting resistance of pure fairy types, but Wigglytuff had so many issues that it's doubtful it would have been any better than untiered, even if it wasn't held back by being half normal. Wigglytuff's best traits are its Clefable-esque move pool, minus soft-boiled, but with an enormous HP stat, better so.
It really is just Clefable minus a lot of the stuff that makes Clefable good, especially the abilities. Oh, the abilities.
The past wishes with. Thus, it seemed possible for Wigglytuff to take on the mantle of a lower tier Clefable, except it didn't, because Clefairy was much better at that, and Wigglytuff was downright terrible. Why? Its stats are just awful. Its defenses are truly, truly abysmal, and while huge HP can make up for lower defenses, Wigglytuff's HP wasn't quite big enough, and its defenses were just too low.
I mean, I do like the Wigglytuff design. We can always say that, right? The Wigglytuff design looks cool. It looks very interesting. But yeah, everything else
especially
is
for
tough.
a Pokemon whose entire purpose is taking hits. Contrast this with, say, Hariyama, whose HP is slightly higher and its defense is markedly better. And this is a Pokemon that, while good at taking hits, also dishes them out in return. Wigglytuff does not have the bulk to set on its support move pool of tools like Knockoff and Heal Bell. And incidentally, this lower bulk throws a wrench in its survivability insofar that it constantly demands it uses Protect in
I can't believe they were going to make Clefairy the mascot of the entire series. I mean, that's ridiculous.
order to receive its own wish, making it highly predictable and thus highly exploitable. It's not exactly threatening anything offensively either, as despite its nice coverage move pool, its special attacker is lackluster, and it is just so.
Oh my god, that was pathetic. Come on, Wigglytuff. I mean, that much damage to a Bronzor from a Fire Blast?
It is just so.
Oh, sorry. That much damage to a Bronzor from a Fire Blast? You need to retire at that point. You should be laughed out of the entire arena. That's your election campaign over, Wigglytuff.
Deathly slow. Basically, Wigglytuff isn't good into much of anything, despite some nifty resists. The solution to this is, well, getting rid of the normal typing is obvious, but Wigglytuff needs far more. A bump to its stats would be nice. You can take or leave the Mega or non-Mega evolution style, because simply buffing its defenses to, say, base 60 a la Hariyama.
Wait, hold on. Wait, buffing it to base 60? Wait, no, it can't be that bad, surely. I thought it was like, I thought its defense was like 70. It can't be, oh my god. This is the most abysmal stat distribution I think I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry, I know I said I wasn't going to make fun of it, but oh my days, what am I looking at right now? I'm looking at a massacre. I'm looking at a killing scene. I'm looking at something that shouldn't be done. I'm looking at crimes against humanity. I'm looking at something awful that's happened here. What even is this? This is awful. This is terrible. It gets competitive in Frisk? Are you serious? 140 HP with 45 defense?
Would be more than fair. Additionally, a more reliable healing method would be nice, at least given Moonlight. Finally, given an ability it can actually use. We're not saying go all out Magic Guard, but Wigglytuff seems like a great candidate for Regenerator, which would further assist.
I will say it is interesting that Q-Charm is never really used more in competitive because it's basically like freezing someone. As soon as you infatuate a Pokemon, boom, that's over. That's GG. That Pokemon's never going to move again. Have you ever moved while you're infatuated? Because I haven't. I used to think back in the day that infatuation worked on the move that you clicked. So you had to decide the correct move to click, and that's what would decide whether or not you attacked through your infatuation, which didn't make any sense because I also thought in my head that the moves that were infatuated were randomly generated. So I don't really know why I came to this conclusion, but I was like, oh no, I used Razor Leaf. I must have, but if I used something else, then it would have worked. It's weird how things like that work with RNG when we're children. We don't understand how it works.
This is hit-taking capabilities, but even with these changes, Wigglytuff would very much be a lower tier Pokemon, but at least it'd be a usable one.
Yeah, bit of a shame, really. No. What? Oh, yeah, gain Nasty Plot. Does anyone even use Nasty Plot on these Pokemon? You can't even... Can you even use Nasty Plot on these Pokemon? I mean, you run Focus Sash, and then you get killed by one priority move. They're just not bulky enough. I mean, maybe Gengar. Gengar could get some good use out of it, but it's got, what, 110 base speed? Alakazam's got maybe like 120 base speed. It's not really the power that they're lacking to begin with, is it?
Here's a bit of a departure, so it's not just awful Pokemon after awful Pokemon. Here are two good Pokemon that couldn't keep up with the tide of the new, despite receiving one of the most incredible buffs they could have asked for. In previous generations, either of these Pokemon gaining Nasty Plot would have been downright riotous.
Yeah, it does not make sense that Gengar didn't have Nasty Plot. I mean, he's a schemer. He's a schemer. Have you ever played Mystery? I have made 2 Mystery Dungeon references in this video. This must be a personal record for me. But he's a schemer. In Mystery Dungeon, that's all he does. He schemes. He lie and eat hot chip.
Gen 8, however, it was merely sufficient to garner them both UUBL status, which Alakazam had already garnered without Nasty Plot in Gen 7. Forget UU though. Once upon a time, Nasty Plot Gengar and Alakazam would have been the bane of OU. Damn.
Oh my god. I'm now just picturing a universe where Mega Gengar with Shadow Tag can use Nasty Plot. I'm picturing this existence, and it is one of flames and terror, sadness and destruction. Society has crumbled. Earthquakes and natural disasters are occurring all over the planet. Yellowstone has erupted and Mount Fuji will soon follow.
And Megazam are already among the scariest Pokemon in Gens 5 through 7, while Gengar was a meta-defining terror in Gen 4 and was quite dangerous in 5 and 6 as well. Now they don't even see use in OU. To go from OU staple to not even seeing use in OU despite this buff is outright stunning. Initially anyway, as it makes sense when you realize how the metagame has progressed. With the likes of Dragapult and Tapu Lele now present, Gengar and Alakazam can no longer go nigh unchallenged in their status as archetypical fast special attackers. It's not just that Pult and Lele are more potent offensively, or that Pult is a superb revenge killer for both of them, though both of those are very, very true and relevant. Also to be considered is how Gengar and
Dude, Lele is ridiculous. I do wish that Lele was in Sword and Shield. Oh, sorry, Scarlet and Violet. I wish all the Tapus were in Scarlet and Violet so we could use them in videos. I really, you know what? I'm really feeling that National Dex fervor. I really wish that they were on the game so we could use them in videos because I feel like it would be so cool. Disregarding competitive and things like that, I just think that in Then We Fight videos, it would be nice to have more variety. But still, the Tapus specifically would be so fun to use because they're all so different.
Frailty, previously not much of a hindrance given how badly they ripped everything in sight, now stands out greatly in a metagame where, in part thanks to a decreased hazard pressure from the proliferation of heavy-duty boots, they are no longer as able to instantly threaten just about all in sight, or at least not significantly enough to overcome their frailty. Pult and Lele are far from tanks, but they are far, far more capable hit takers than Gar and Zan.
Oh, definitely Lele. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's got some really good special defense.
And this is on top of being offensive threats. We must take this moment to mourn the loss of Gengar's Levitate in this regard. It still would have had the same issues, but at least it could have been more of a punish for OU's ubiquitous grounds.
That was a really sad nerf considering that Gengar literally does levitate in the game. When you send him out, there's some situation. I don't really know how this works. Why do they do the levitation thing sometimes? Like Heracross. Heracross will fly in Scarlet and Violet sometimes. Is it when hazards are set up? I don't really know how it works. Is it when spikes are set up? I don't really know. But sometimes they'll levitate, they'll be off the floor. So Gengar still does levitate, but doesn't have a levitate because they're like, oh no, it's too strong,
I guess. You say, Gengar and Zam have Nasty Plot. They can threaten everything in the game lethally, easily on par with Pult and Lele, if not more. What gives? Well, Nasty Plot requires a turn to set up. And hilariously, we can compare this to the earlier example of Bibarel. Kind of anyway, with the point being that it is in fact they require a turn to set up, while being far too frail to consistently get it. They're more
well, see, this is where we come to my conclusion here, which is don't use Alakazam because it's too frail. Instead, use Kadabra with Eviolite. Boom, problem solved.
Or immediately threatening, of course, but then you loop back to the Pokemon where Palt and Lele are terrors without needing to set up at all. Oh, and even if you do set Zam and Gar up, you're probably getting revenge killed, if not by Dragapult, then by Tornadus or Weavile, unless you're brave enough to try and punish the use of Adamant Weavile, which is common at high level play. But again, this isn't really a risk worth taking when you could just use more consistent threats overall. Solution: give Gengar Levitate back for starters. If it levitated once, it always could levitate, unless you're telling us that it got
It can. We can see it levitate. It's factual. We can see it in the video
tired
game.
in Gen 7 or something. However, the main thing you have to
He just wants to give his mind a little bit of a break. It needs to do leg day more.
compete with is the immediacy of the Palt Lele threat, thanks to their far greater speed and power respectively. This is a tough one to fix, and really, the most practical way would be to give them Megas, which they already have, solving many of their speed issues, giving them a solid deal of extra power and even slightly increasing their hit-taking ability.
Maybe in Legends Are, when Mega Evolutions return, we could see Mega Gengar with Nasty Plot, and oh no, that would be bad. That would be really bad. You Shadow Tag in something that can't hit you or doesn't hit you very well, and oh, you just go crazy. You run rampant on them.
Going this route, though, we can also take Shadow Tag off of Mega Gengar, as that's too much of an overcorrection. We're trying
Right, yeah. But so good, though.
to make it good, not broken. So instead, we have it stick with Levitate. With the non-Mega route, though, both Pokemon...
It's funny, because if Mega Gengar has Levitate, it's inside of the floor. So it's like the opposite of Levitate. So you can still dodge ground type moves, but you're inside the floor instead of above the ground, right?
One would benefit significantly from an increase in special attack, which might seem gratuitous, but really isn't that much considering power creep. Look at something like Blacephalon, for instance. A solid plus 10 to both base special attack stats ought to do the trick. And given Zam's IQ of 5,000, shouldn't it figure out how to make itself stronger over time anyway?
This guy's too stupid to get himself strong. Yeah, this guy's supposed to be smart. He doesn't even know how to get 100,000 special attack stat. Isn't he crazy? Sticky webs. Oh, it gains plus 20 special attack and speed. I mean, it's okay, I suppose. It's not great.
Plenty
not great
of
by any
Pokemon
means.
have been given stat boosts over the generations. Clefable, Pelipper, Roserade, and benefited nicely from them. Despite
I always thought that Masquerain was a water type as well, but it's bug flying. I mean, it makes sense, but it feels like it should be a water type. This is just based on vibes. But sometimes you have to live your life based on vibes. Sometimes if it just feels right, then that's how you should go. All of our Pokemon choices are based on what we like, are based on vibes. You look at Pokemon and you think, I like that or I don't like that. Why? Just vibes, right?
the boost not being too major. Most cases involve a boost of plus 10 or so. Masquerain is a case of the inverse. It holds the record for the highest total increase to its base stats, with both its special attack and speed increased by 20.
And it didn't do anything to help it.
For comparison, Volbeat, Illumise, Chimecho, other similarly woeful Pokemon whom Game Freak took great pity on, also received a heftier total of base stats, but they maxed out at 30 across the board. Plus, it's not like this boost was given to something useless like Masquerain's attack stat. Boosting both special attack and speed was perfect for its role. However, even with this
it just needed a little bit more, to be honest.
boost, Masquerain was still completely hapless competitively. Funnily enough, it was seen on 1 or 2 sticky web teams at a time in Gen 7 OU.
And I mean, it has a really good ability too. Like, it has Intimidate as its ability. It's just the bug flying is very bad typing.
And we really do mean 1 or 2, as literally as possible. But that was by virtue of Sticky Web, a move it had previously, with the special attack and speed not at all being the focal point, and it wound up being a
Rabombi! See, Rabombi is just the better version. Bug flying, better typing, better special attack, crazy speeds.
clips in this robot.
I love Rabombi.
Rabombi, which was incredibly niche itself. Beyond that, Masquerain failed to attain a meaningful enough niche to accrue sufficient usage even all the way down in PU, leaving it untiered, in spite of, again, the largest base stat boost in history. It might seem that given Masquerain's status as such a recipient, there's not much more you can do without, again, going into the realm of giving it an evolution.
And it could deserve a Mega Evolution, honestly, or not a Mega Evolution, an evolution in general, because it doesn't seem like it's at its peak yet. In fact, the form itself looks like it could go further.
Or otherwise. But
I mean, I'm picturing something like a Yan Mega type situation. I know that Yan Mega could technically get an evolution, but it probably won't. But if you have something that the design turns into something like a Yan Mega, or maybe it hits the ground and becomes the bug water type that it was always destined to be.
then you realize that's too easy, and we don't want to go down that road again.
Yeah, no, that's too easy. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even like think of ideas of what it could even be, because it's pretty dumb and easy. So I'd probably think of something else instead. Like,
So let's get creative. And
That I'd probably get creative. And
B, Masquerade's stats were ridiculously low to begin with, especially for a Pokemon with such a considered design. It has Intimidate after all, so we can consider this more of a late correction. Let's begin by making it more feasible for it to use Intimidate. Yes, we know it's a bug flying type, so it's
bug water.
This late in typing is going to prevent it from being an all-out wall. Well, let's give it the potential to actually get some use out of itself, as opposed to just being a sacrifice for
Here it comes. He's going to say bog water.
To get a free turn out of against the Pokemon that KO'd Masquerade as it got Intimidate off. Let's let Masquerade intimidate opponents into giving it a free Quiver Dance. Because
Wait, what?
Because that is what Masquerade's strengths are. A strong stab combination alongside one of the best boosting moves in the game. And it even has excellent coverage in Hydro Pump. Alongside this new theoretical Intimidate niche, this distinguishes it from competition like Vivillon. Rock or Fire types will be terrified of it, as well as ground types with rock coverage. So we're going to bump that base defense stat up by 15 points.
Okay, that's solid. It was only 62 before, but my god, it's higher than Wigglytuff's.
77. And we're going to bump its HP up to 7. So it's also base 77.
I like the 7 theme we got going on here. Very nice.
Symmetry is awesome, and it can be a symbol of hope. These are still far.
It can be a symbol of hope. Oh, so we're making this All Might, are we?
Stunning numbers overall, but they are now giving Masquerade the capability to do something, especially because the extra HP goes hand in hand with Quiver Dance's special defense boost.
Wait, so his idea is Masquerade's ability just becomes you get a Quiver Dance? That's great.
Basically enhances and makes real Masquerade's theoretical approach that his stats are currently too poor to pull off. Fine setup with Intimidate and or the Quiver Dance special defense boost, and after the boost, the non-intimidated physical attackers that switch in, which generally are less specially defensive, will get blown away by a boosted move, while the special defense boost or boost is or are intact for more specially bulky special attackers. To really help Masquerade put opponents away though, we're going to pump its special attack just a little more, and we feel this is a far cry from excessive considering this is a literal bug flying type whose base stat total after all these modifications continues to resemble a PU Pokemon. We're not asking for much when we propose buffing Masquerade's special attack further.
Oh, it's just 8. Oh, that's fine. That gives it a little bit more power, but not too much.
By 8.
I think that's a respectable ask. I don't think that you're asking for too much here.
Total of base 108. We figured that since we've given it 22 points between defense and HP thus far, we can allow ourselves to go up to 30. This does mean that our theoretical Masquerade has gained a total of 70 base points since its inception,
and now it might finally be able to do something.
This isn't even 3/4 of a Mega Evolution for a Pokemon that could still use a lot more. We were even tempted to give it the Mega Beedrill / Paradox Pokemon treatment, full on min-maxing and knocking down its base attack to pump its other stats further, but we won't, even though maybe we should have.
Well, I think that's respectable. Heracross! Wait, Heracross gained spikes? I thought we were going to talk about the Mega Evolution, because I don't know if a Mega Heracross is ever that good, but I do love Heracross in general, because, like I was mentioning, it does its little flapping, it flies during the battle. It's always been pretty strong. It has Moxie. I always choice scarf my Heracross. You see me using the Heracross in the video? That boy's been choice scarfed.
It cannot be overemphasized how enormous hazards are and how enormous the niches caused by access to them become, even when the Pokemon themselves are not that impressive. In Gen 9, so many ground types got spikes, and the oversaturation of the move meant something like Deoxys Defense's access to the move was no longer nearly as impressive to the point where it currently sits in RU. Beforehand,
really? Are you? That's insane. Are you crazy putting it in RU? Are you insane? That's a Deoxys. That's a plus. That's a 600 base stat boy. It's still got 90 speed. It still has ridiculous defenses. Oh, it has terrible HP though. Oh yeah, that might be a cause of the issue. I'm thinking. Yeah, never mind. Pretty non-ideal. I mean, Deoxys' attack is Ubers, and then Deoxys' defense is RU. I mean, speed is OU. I mean, it's okay, I suppose. Regular Deoxys is also Uber. I wonder why you would ever run regular Deoxys over Deoxys attack if you were going to do Ubers, because there really is no... you really just want more in the attack, right? Surely.
However, Deoxys' defense was Uber 5 times because of spikes. It wasn't just Ubers either. Frostlass was banned from UU in Gens 4 and 5 solely because it stacked them too well, in addition to it not being just spikes. There's a reason Stealth Rock is the mandatory move. The playstyle of many hazard setters is reflective of how big the hazards are. The whole concept of suicide leads is by and large built around the existence and setting of hazards. Perhaps most famously, Stealth Rock is so powerful that players are willing to lose their Azelf to get Stealth Rock. Most importantly,
And Azelf was so good too. Like up against the Machamp, it could have just psychicked it and killed it. It's pretty fast. It can even explode if it wants
to. And just behind that in importance is the prevention of the opponent getting rocks themselves. Hazards are so powerful, even some of the scariest Pokemon around with access to them will slot them into their moveset. This is most easily apparent with Stealth Rock on offensive monsters like Garchomp and Heatran, or even the likes of Mega Metagross and Oras. But also seeing how in Greninja, one of the purest offensive terrors ever, is regularly seen as a spiker, and even how something as unconscionably strong as Diggersby is an effective user of the move. Even beyond that, pre-spike saturation, non-Stealth Rock hazards were limited in their distribution, meaning even Pokemon that would have been decidedly subpar otherwise gained.
Dude, why isn't Ariados fighting a Mewtwo? What is happening here? This is like Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb.
Serious use, even becoming among the most spammed Pokemon in the game for their access to the move. Cloyster without Spike still would have been good in GSC, but in terms of usage, it'd be knocking on UU's door. Not the number.
Honestly, I didn't even know that Spikes was a move in GSC. Did they introduce it then? Did it even have 3 layers back then?
The 3 most Pokemon used in OU. Glalie gets used sometimes in Gen 3 OU because of Spikes. Quillfish has use in Gen 4 Ubers because of Spikes and Toxic Spikes.
Wait, why is the Quillfish fighting a Groudon? What is happening here? Why have they been put in this situation? This seems almost like animal abuse to do this.
Incidentally, a similar dynamic applies to Rapid Spin, especially in the pre-defog days. Both sides of the hazard game are the entire reason Fortress exists pretty much. So with all that said, we arrive at the curious case of Heracross, blessed with spikes in Generation 8, and before you say heavy-duty boots, remember that Hera itself is an excellent user of knockoff. Heracross had been doing quite well ever since it first entered UU in Generation 4. There, it thoroughly lacerated the meta.
He's such a good boy, I love him.
Game en route to a ban, then returned to the tier twice more in the subsequent 2 generations, excelling. Gen 7 saw it drop to RU for the first time, but it also got itself canned from.
Damn, look how strong he is! That was with no boost. It probably was with a boost, actually.
As such, it was curious when it stayed in RU in Generation 8. After all, there was theoretically less power creep in the removal of Megas and Z-moves, and we shed a tier from Mega Heracross, by the way. But this is about its base form, and the limited Pokedex. Plus,
I will say, Heracross's base form just looks really sick. It's one of my favorite Pokemon designs, I think, next to Rhydon, which is also really good.
Heracross theoretically just got better because it was good old Hera. 3 amazing abilities, a great attack stat, 2 vicious stabs, superb supplementary coverage, including one of the best moves in the game in knockoff, and now it was an entry hazard setter.
Oh, it just set up spikes in front of a Chandelure. This guy is getting torched momentarily.
Yeah, this was mystifying. It can even wield heavy-duty boots itself.
Dude, this is a Registeel saying of Stealth Rocks in front of a Heracross. What is happening? They're just asking to be killed.
To counteract the issue it had had for so long. The problem is that Spikes does nothing to fix another issue that Hera has had for a long time. Its awkward, kind of bad defensive profile. It doesn't seem bad. It's got good bulk, especially on the special side, and even packs some neat resist in ground fighting and grass. The problem, it's also neutral or weak to a lot. So even many pokes that pack these moves and resist don't have issues slamming it with their coverage, especially because Heracross isn't that bulky, particularly for something that doesn't have any recovery at all.
Yeah, you could run a Assault Vest on it. I mean, not me, always running a Scarf, you know, always be running a Scarf, mate. I mean, you could run an Assault Vest on it, and that would be pretty useful, but it doesn't really have the best defense. That is true, and has a ton of weaknesses. Most flying type users, or any Pokemon that can use a flying type move, generally will, because flying type stab or flying type offensive is just so good.
I mean, even its resist don't get used too much. Plus,
wait, Sharpedo gets close combat now? Since when?
Heracross's speed.
Well, I guess this is Sword and Shield, so this is whence.
Decent, but only that. Thus, getting Hera on the field in order to blast the opponent with attacks has long been a challenge, contributing to its gradual fall. And that same issue applies to any potential spiking. Fortunately, this issue is too difficult to rectify. We're going to give Heracross a +5 increase to each of its HP defense and special defense, bringing them to 85, 80, and 100 respectively.
Okay, that's pretty solid. That's all right.
This is a minor yet significant boost that increases its hit taking without going over the top. However, it doesn't do anything to fix the issue of Hera's awkward non-longevity. While we aren't going to do anything about its typing, what we can do is give it some sort of recovery. We're going to give it 2 actually, both of which fit with its design and...
Wait, Roost. It's gonna be Roost. It's gonna be Roost. Roost and Synthesis? No, that's Flowers.
Lore
Roost,
perfectly.
definitely.
Leashed Life and...
Oh, I'm an idiot. Sorry, I'm like the most dumb person, I guess. Strength Sap, I mean, that makes sense. It's all about that sap. It's all about sucking on that sap. I just think it's crazy that there are so many pictures of him just sucking away. Just look at him. He's just sucking. Like, he loves to suck on that Bulbasaur.
Strength Sap. It's kind of strange that it doesn't already have them, in fact.
Yeah, having Leech Life does That is strange. It is weird that the translation from the Japanese is Kyuketsu. Suck blood.
Back. This won't completely overhaul Heracross, but we'll give it a buff it needs. At the time of this video, it is PU in Gen 9. We'd love to see it acting as a unique, bulky, hard-hitting spike setter in its old stomping grounds again.
Well, terrestrialization actually does a lot to help it, though, too, with being able to change your type, and so you don't have as many weaknesses. You can change it to something like, oh, I don't know, like Fairy or Steel, and it has like a nice defensive terrestrialization there.
And before we move on to our last Pokemon, we've got some honorable mentions to knock out first. In Generation 7, several lowly Pokemon were given some seriously nice buffs. Lunatone and Solrock gained 20 base HP, which is stellar, but were still unable to do anything meaningful. Meanwhile,
yeah, I'm not surprised they were not able to do anything. I mean, look at them. They're Lunatone and Solrock. Again, they could get Mega Evolutions, or they could get Evolutions, or they could get Summit. They're the sun and the moon. Like, they look sick. They have really cool designs. You could do a lot with stars and astral bodies with that. Surely, maybe they could fuse together and become some kind of sun-moon conglomeration.
Volbeat, Illumise, and Chimecho were almost Masquerain level in that they gained a total of 30 base stat points. Volbeat and Illumise got plus 20 to their defense and plus 10 to special defense, while Chimecho got plus 10 to each of its HP defense and special defense. However, given their innate flaws, very much including stats still far too low, they were unable to do anything either.
Some Pokemon exist just to be bad. And I think, honestly, maybe it's fine to just be bad, because not every Pokemon can be good. Not even every Pokemon can be usable. Some Pokemon are just creatures like that in the wild. Pandas are going extinct because they don't know how to breed. They don't know how to keep themselves alive. They eat bamboo. How did that happen? What's going on with that? Some creatures are just evolved to not be as strong. Listen, I love Subnoodle. I love this creature. It's based off a panda. I love it so much. It's fantastic. But I'm not going to be the one to say that pandas are the most smart animals in the world, even though I do enjoy them. And I not enjoy. God, that's a weird way to phrase that. I do like them so much. Tyranitar? Wait, this thing has knockoff now? God, I am so behind.
Tyranitar gaining knockoff in literally any other generation would have been absolutely stratospheric in its impact, even before the move's buff allowing it to be used as a serious offensive attack in Gen 6. Simply being able to remove items for such an amazing Pokemon hitting the field so consistently would have been incredible. And forget ever switching a non-sandy...
Tyranitar fell off. Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, Tyranitar fell off. Look at that. In Sword and Shield, it was OU. It was OU. It was OU in the one. Yep. OU. Damn. It's starting to fall off. You know, it did last a long time for a Pokemon with so many weaknesses because, God, this creature is just so cool. And such a low speed, too, but it's really good stat distribution. Really good.
I mean, leftovers Pokemon into it either. As it is now, Bulky Suicune and Milotic can act as solid answers to several variants of T-Tar in Gen 3. But if they ate a knockoff, they'd be absolutely ruined. Not that Sandy Mew Pokemon would exactly be thrilled either. Swampert would be horrified at that prospect. Even the specific category of sand immune Pokemon with recovery, like Hippowdon and Skarmory, wouldn't like it at all. Knockoff was just absolutely perfect. Why bother with coverage when this move is going to mess with literally everything switching into you? The only recourse would be Breloom or Gen 5 and onward Gliscor with their toxic auras already activated. And T-Tar can famously mess those two up. If they get too
you can give them a good old punch in the mouth.
Certain about switching into it. This wouldn't just be incredible in OU, but
I forgot you got Ice Beam too. He has a really good special attack
as well. And once again, Gen 6 comes around and knockoff becomes a bona fide weapon.
Jesus criminy crikey, that did a lot to Ho-Oh.
Right. Well, it'd be downright insane, especially when used by Mega T.
What? On a Mega Evolution? You don't even get the boost from rocking off a Mega Evolution, do you?
Gen 8 didn't have Megatar, but the Bantar that became one of the metagame's biggest threats would be obscenely ferocious in a metagame that lacked the knock-absorbing elements that were Z-Crystals and Megastones, and for that matter, Poison, Heal, Toxic Orb, Gliscor. So the fact that Tyranitar dropped to RU in Generation 9 is made especially mind-blowing knowing it now has this tool that would completely flip the game on its head in literally any other gen. It's not difficult at all to conceive of T-Tar getting banned from OU outright. Even T-Tar eventually rising to UU doesn't change this. The fact is that despite receiving...
Wait, he was in RU at one point? Damn, that does make me sad. That is the fall off of the century.
One of the most unbelievably monumental bluffs possible. Like, seriously, we cannot emphasize enough its absurdity. Gen 9 has so thoroughly suppressed T-Tar's traits that even this isn't enough for it. So...
The power creep in Gen 9 has been ludicrous ridiculous,
What
though.
is there to be done? It seems outright bizarre to have to buff any aspect of T-Tar, considering it's, Tyranitar. But if it's going to keep up in the brave new world of Gen 9, it's going to need some new tricks. The issue is really that its
yes, we'll make it Rock Fairy type.
typing has become quite awkward in this new tier, which threatens it at every corner. And a bit more to any of its stats isn't really going to make that much of a difference. Anything reasonable anyway. So our proposition is to make T-Tar more of an active threat. We're proposing it receive both Stone Axe and Ceaseless Edge so that it can fire
Oh, that would be interesting. Actually, it would make sense as well. Stone Axe would be crazy with
powerful
this.
attacks and provide hazard support in one fell swoop. It gets stab on both of these. Furthermore, we're proposing it gets Sucker Punch. Hey, if it gets knockoff, let's just
Sucker Punch would be ridiculous on this. I mean, T-Tar is already in enough danger as it is because pretty much every single Pokemon has a super effective move against it. So Sucker Punch would make it ludicrous, though.
Its speed is more and more disappointing, and this allows Tyranitar to keep up with faster threats, both making it scarier itself and providing its team with more utility against boosted monsters.
Damn, Paradoxmon's really changed the game.
It's not like these changes are fundamentally going to break it either. Strange as it may seem, it's still going to have to contend with Great Tusk and company. Beyond that, who knows, man? Maybe it's time T-Tar received a Lifetime Achievement Award or something.
I mean, he's been around since Gold, Silver, Crystal. He's been trying his best for the longest time.
Like +1 to each of its base stats.
+1 to each of its base stats? Damn, that'd be crazy.
There are many other Pokemon that could fit in the category of this video, of course, so let us know what you think they are, and if you agree or disagree with our choices. One thing's for certain, though, and that's the fact that Game Freak needs to be more discerning with their buffs. When you're trying to improve bad Pokemon, it's gonna take something closer to a complete overhaul than even the boost Masquerain received, which is massive in a...
Yeah, I think they just kind of look at some things. I mean, there's 1,000 of the little critters running around now, so they just look at something like, this is a bit weak. We'll give it a little bit more of something. We'll give it a little rub on the belly, see what it likes about that, and then we'll just call it a day. So I don't really think they're thinking too in depth about the individual buffs that they're getting, but hey, I mean, that was a great video. That was a fantastic video. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Please subscribe to Full Swipe Gaming. They're almost at 500,000, and if you want to see more of my dumb face, then you can always subscribe here as well.